Ever since I was a kid, I've had this fascination with abandoned places. There's something about the eerie silence, the stories etched in the decaying walls, the remnants of life left behind. But I always stuck to daylight explorations. Nighttime was a different beast, filled with tales of mishaps and unsettling encounters shared by fellow urban explorers. But turning 18, I felt a surge of adventurous spirit. It all started with an Instagram scroll. A drone-captured image of an abandoned hospital snagged my attention. The building loomed, desolate and intriguing, and a quick search unearthed an article about a hushed-up incident involving a patient that led to its closure. The secrecy only piqued my interest more. I decided that this place had to be explored. At night, after a mundane day at work, I packed my trusty rucksack with essentials: flashlight, camera, lockpick set, wire cutters, and set off. The drive stretched for hours, and dusk crept in, painting the sky in shades of deep blue and purple. As I neared my destination, civilization seemed to recede. The road narrowed, and I found myself turning onto an unmarked, rugged dirt track, my sedan groaning under the strain. Trees lined the path, their branches reaching out like gnarled hands, as if beckoning me closer to my destination. The deeper I drove, the more the atmosphere thickened with an unspoken eeriness. My headlights cut through the darkness, revealing fleeting glimpses of the underbrush and the occasional darting shadow. The feeling of isolation was palpable, the silence of the surrounding wilderness oppressive. Finally, the hospital came into view, its silhouette a stark contrast against the twilight sky. I parked, grabbed my gear, and switched on my flashlight, its beam slicing through the night. The wire fence surrounding the property loomed ahead. Finding an entry point proved challenging in the limited visibility. I snipped through the fence with my cutters, the metallic sound jarringly loud in the stillness. I scaled a pile of debris, and then I was through. With every step towards the hospital's parking lot, a sense of unease grew within me. It felt as though the darkness itself had eyes, observing my every move. I felt watched. Reaching the main entrance, I found the doors chained shut. My lockpick skills came in handy, and after several tense moments, the padlock clicked open. The doors resisted at first, as if sealing away secrets, but gave way with a shove. Inside, the darkness was absolute, a thick blanket of shadow. The silence was so profound, it seemed loud, a faint ringing in my ears, the only sound. I ventured in, my flashlight's beam darting from one corner to another. The atmosphere was electric, my heart racing with a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was unlike any exploration I'd done before. The hospital interior was chaotic, a frozen snapshot of rushed evacuation. Papers strewn across floors, medical instruments abandoned mid-use, personal belongings scattered. I could almost hear the echoes of the past, a building once alive with activity, now reduced to a ghostly shell. Curiosity led me downstairs to the lower levels. The air grew colder, the oppressive silence heavier. Then I found it, the morgue. The room was suffocating in its stillness. Stainless steel cabinets lined the walls, doors ajar, empty. Except one. In hindsight, I should have trusted my instincts. The growing dread, the voice in my head screaming to leave. But curiosity, that damn curiosity, it pushed me forward. I opened the steel cabinet door and was met with a sight that sucked the air right from my lungs. A body bag, the shape of a human form unmistakable within. I slammed the door shut, reeling backward, crashing into a table and sending equipment clattering to the floor, the noise echoing through the desolate halls. Frozen in shock, I barely registered the sound at first. A faint, rhythmic noise. I listened. It grew louder, and then the horrifying realization dawned on me. It was the sound of a zipper, the body bag zipper, being undone from the inside. My blood turned to ice, my heart thudding in my ears. In a burst of terror-fueled adrenaline, I leapt to my feet and ran. I raced through the dark, winding corridors, my breath ragged, my mind a blur of panic. As I neared the entrance, the door I had shut earlier now loomed, unyielding. I pushed against it, panic rising when it wouldn't budge. Then I heard it, the unmistakable sound of bare feet slapping against the cold floor, growing louder, closer. It was coming towards me. The echo of someone or something running up the stairs filled the building. Paralyzed by fear, I hesitated for a moment, every instinct screaming at me to flee. Then, with a surge of desperation, I shouldered the door open and burst into the night. The return to my car was a blur of terror. I scrambled through the fence, careless of the sharp edges that tore at my skin. My heart pounded in my ears, drowning out all other sounds, except for the imagined footsteps I feared were following me. Once inside my car, I didn't pause to catch my breath. I started the engine and drove away as fast as the rugged terrain would allow. The trees, once silent observers, now seemed to leer at me, their branches like twisted arms, reaching out in the dim light of my headlights. The drive back was a tense, nerve-wracking ordeal. Every shadow cast by the car's lights morphed into sinister figures in my imagination. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something unspeakable sitting in the back seat or chasing after me. The adrenaline rush that had fueled my escape was now replaced by a cold, gripping fear. As I finally emerged onto the main road, a sense of relief washed over me, though it did little to calm my shaking hands and racing heart. The familiar sights of the town, the streetlights, the late-night traffic, they all felt like a return to normalcy, a world away from the nightmare I had just escaped. Driving home, my mind replayed the night's events over and over. The morgue, the body bag, the inexplicable sound of the zipper. It all seemed like a scene from a horror movie, not something I could have actually experienced. But the cuts on my hands from the wire fence and the lingering terror were evidence enough that it had been far too real. I arrived home, exhausted, mentally and physically. The house was dark and silent, a stark contrast to the chaos of the hospital I had just escaped. As I lay in bed, trying to find sleep, the events at the morgue haunted me. What was in that body bag? Was it all just my imagination? A trick of fear and shadow? Or had something truly been there with me in the darkness? The questions lingered, unanswered and unsettling. I knew one thing for sure though. My days of urban exploring, especially at night, were over. The thrill of adventure had always drawn me to abandoned places, but now the thought filled me with dread. I had sought excitement and mystery, but what I had found was a terror that would stay with me long after I had left the abandoned hospital behind. As the first light of dawn crept through my curtains, I finally found sleep, a restless escape from the memories of the night. But even in my dreams, the echoing sound of a zipper being undone followed me, a chilling reminder of the fear that now lived inside me.